It's August 11th, 2011, and I have the pleasure today to be sitting here with Roy Daniels. Oh, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Daniels, do you believe, I believe I've heard that you are the oldest living resident here, living in Manchester.
That is correct.
Oh,
Yes, Bob.
that is correct. Well, when and where were you born?
Well, I was born in December the 16th, 1921, just about a half a block from here, from this point, in an old beach cabin down on the waterfront.
Means that you were born here, and were you born in the house or in a hospital or?
No, we were born in the old beach house. Dr. Wilson came out and delivered me and my twin brother right in the old house.
I'll be done. Now, would this be, I noticed at the old Norgar place, it would be...
That would be it.
If it's on Daniels Loop, it would be the southerly corner of Daniels Loop.
Right.
Okay, is that the original house? I think probably was remodeled a couple of times.
Well, it was an old beach. Well, now it's gone. It's all gone.
Oh, it's gone now.
Yeah, you wouldn't recognize the area now. But.
So, okay, you were born there, and then what? You grew up right here in town, and tell us what it was like.
Well, there weren't very many people here. I think I went to a grade school right on top of the hill here, about a mile from here, within walking distance.
Now, was that the log one, or is that the newer one?
No, it was not a log cabin.
Okay, so it's the one with the flagpole in the front, and the big white one right on the road that they tore down.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's where I went for 6 years, grade school. School with about, maximum of maybe 30 children at the most, 6 grades, 1 teacher.
One teacher. Yeah. Remember who that was?
No.
I'll be darned. So then, what would your dad do?
My dad was on the school board.
Oh.
And he would interview these young ladies that graduated from college and would apply for a teaching job. And he was one of 3 directors, school board directors, who would hire these young people to teach. One teacher, 6 grades.
And that was his job.
Well,
that's what he did.
No, that wasn't his job. I mean, that was just a elected job or something. It was there was no money involved.
So what did he do?
My dad was a carpenter, a fisherman, a farmer, and jack of all trades.
Oh, interesting. So then when you got out of school, what did you do?
Well, when I went to high school here in Port Orchard, I graduated in 1939. And in them years, the main hiring point was the Navy Yard. And basically all the seniors, especially the boys, would look forward to taking a apprentice test to get a job in the Navy Yard. That's where the work was. Mm-hmm. Good pay, good working conditions, and you're set for life if you get a job there. So that was our basically main goal for a lot of us graduating seniors. 1939 I graduated.
So that's what you did?
No. I did take the test, and while I was waiting to get called, a lady that worked for the government in the post office here at Manchester. She told me one day that the telephone company was hiring.
Remember who that was? Was it Mrs.
Randall?
Was it Mrs. Randall?
It was Mrs. Randall who told me that. So I went over to Bremerton one day, and I saw this telephone sign up on the street. My younger brother was with me, and I said, "Dean, I I think I'll go into this telephone place and see about this job. They're taking applications for working for the telephone company. So I did. Well, I think about 2 weeks later, I got a call to come in for further tests, eye tests, to make sure you weren't colorblind. Different little things. And by golly, everything was okay, and I got hired.
Great.
I got hired from Mother Bell, Ma Bell.
So what did you do with them?
Well, when I started, I was a telephone repairman, installation and repair. I installed telephones. I climbed poles. I put up wire. I did all these different kind of things you need to do to get a telephone working in your house. And in them days, Bremerton, city of Bremerton, the telephone system was manual. We didn't have dial. You had telephone operators.
Mm-hmm.
And the outlying little towns, Silverdale and Port Orchard and Belfair, had little automatic offices. So they were a step ahead of the big city of Bremerton.
Mm.
That was my first job.
Is that when you used to call up and the operator would answer and
Yes.
you'd tell the operator?
Number plays.
She'd say number plays,
The operator would say, number plays.
and then you would tell her, and then she
Yeah.
would plug you in.
Yeah.
And that was also in Manchester, that same system?
No, Manchester was part of Port Orchard Exchange. Dial. When I got hired for the telephone company, I did not have a telephone. We didn't have telephone service. And there were very few telephones around in this area in Manchester. I think there was one pay station down in the old Reuter's grocery store.
Now, was it Triangle back then?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Right.
it was Triangle 1 or Triangle.
Triangle 691, Triangle.
Well, I remember a Triangle 1.
6, I believe. 8. Wait, no, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I remember Port Orchard being Triangle 6 and then Manchester Triangle 1. And then Bremerton was Essex.
Essex, yeah, 3X6. X3, 7.
Uh-huh.
Port Orchard was Triangle 1.
So then, when you were born on Daniels Loop, all that property is part of a Daniels plat. How did
Yeah.
that? Is that a relative of yours?
That was my grandfather, Henry Daniels.
Now, was he some sort of a land developer or something?
No. I really don't know what his main job was, but I believe, or his main support was probably a farmer, and I do recall him having animal traps for fur-bearing animals, mink, muskrats, and that kind of thing, in which they took the hide, tanned them, had the old big old barn out here with all the boards and stuff they put the animals' skins on, and then they took them into Seattle and sold them to.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
So how did he end up? He bought all that land there? you
This
think?
land originally was owned by his sister, and he lived in San Jose, California at the time. And somehow, I don't really, they decided to trade. He traded his property in San Jose for his sister's property up here, which was this Daniels Plat.
Okay, was this included in it?
Yeah, this whole thing.
This whole thing, is it,
Yeah.
this is as far
Yeah.
north as it is?
Yes.
From here
right, the edge right there on my property, down to Main Street.
down to Main Street, the whole
Yes,
thing?
yes. The property did not, there was about 3 or 4 pieces of property on the waterfront that were not in Daniels Plat. One was Pulliam, the first one, next to the Main Street. The next,
That's where you were born?
no.
Well, no,
There was
excuse
still-
me, next to Main Street. You were born on that, excuse me.
Yeah,
I got it.
Pulliam's, Mayette's.
Which is Cavania's property.
Yeah, no, yeah. Mayette's, a little place was right next to Pulliam's place. And Scavenius, he eventually got part of that property. Anyway, so.
Okay, so all of
But
this.
originally, Daniels Plat ran right into the Main Street over there, and where the library now and parking lot is, was pasture land for their milk cows that we had on the property.
Right where the library?
Yeah.
I understand. And now, do you remember a creek coming through here?
No,
Let's see.
no, there was drainage, but there was no creek.
Okay, and then it got all divided up, and then this, of course, is a large chunk here, and then those are made into little.
When my
little-
grandparents, the Henry and Teresa, when they buy the property, they made 100-foot strips here for their sons, and then the smaller parcels for their daughters and so forth.
No.
So there was four Daniel's sons, and the 2 youngest, which was my dad was the youngest, and Elmer was the next. They got 100-foot strips from Beach Drive to the waterfront, side by side. And the older brothers just got smaller pieces because they didn't live up here.
I
So-
see.
So
Okay, so and when did you retire from the phone company?
1981.
1981. So you've been
Yeah.
enjoying your retirement here in Manchester since then.
Yeah, I've been retired now 30 years. And still sucking air.
Well, good for you. Well, what do you like best about Manchester?
Oh man, I like the peace and quiet. We have like a private green belt around us here. We're not bothered by anybody, and it's a nice place to live.
It's a nice place to live. Okay. Well, if there's anything else you'd like to share, or
Well, can't think of anything particular.
okay,
But I know one thing. I know later in life, the brother that owned this strip, his name was Elmer, next to Dad's. My father's name was Roy. He died of leukemia, and he willed his strip to my father. And so shortly after that, the whole family arrived on the scene, and my mother was not much older than Myron's oldest brother, John Hall, who was a state patrolman, by the way.
oh,
And got together very nicely. And one day, John asked my folks, if he could buy this strip of property right here, 100-foot strip, which is now the Hall strip. And of course, that was put up to us children, you know. Hey, would you like to have John live over here? Sure. Do you want the property? No. Let John. So that's how the Halls got this strip
I see.
next to my strip here.
Okay, all right, interesting. Okay, well,
early 1900s. This property here was all farmed in a strawberry farm. It was all cultivated, and the main product they produced was strawberries.
strawberries.
Yeah, which were hauled into Seattle. Apparently on the mosquito fleets that used to serve the Puget Sound area.
How big was that strawberry farm?
Well, I don't know.
Is
The
it-
acreage here is probably...
There was the whole acreage here?
No, it just... I personally never saw this. My father gave me this information. My dad. So I really don't know, but he said in this area we're sitting right here now with strawberries. That was their main crop. So they were farmers, and then things developed from there.
What do you remember around the wartime here?
Well, you know, one thing I can remember, Bob, is way back the area to the north of this, where the fuel dock, the fuel station is right now, was barren. There was nothing there. There was a lighthouse down on the point, Orchard Point, and that lighthouse, my grandparents would go down there and light the lamp
Oh, I'll be darned.
for every evening or whatever the time was, and that was one thing I can remember.
Wow.
And then years later, the government, being their property, brought in an old sailing vessel that they wanted to get rid of it. And they beached it right down where the present fuel dock is. And they proceeded to try to burn it, to get rid of it, which never happened. They couldn't do it. So the old hull sat there for years. And the local residents, including my father, would go down there and strip the copper sheeting off of the old Port Orford cedar planking on this old sailing vessel.
Wow, I'll be darned. Port Orford.
Yeah, Port Orford cedar. And in fact, some of that Port Orford cedar post planking was used in my house right over here for support of from the basement for the house.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah, it was the foundation to support the house. But anyway, this old vessel had the big old Port Orford cedar planking, and it was put together with brass bolts.
I'll be darned.
And my father would go down there and drive out these brass bolts besides stripping off the copper.
Yeah.
They wanted the Navy wanted to
Get
get rid of this thing. So they welcomed everybody. And that's how we got some of the planking off of the
I'll be darned.
hull to use to support this house.
All right, that's
And that
interesting.
was years before this fuel dock was ever brought in here.
All right, very good. Very interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Yep.
All right.